What foods can beat inflammation in our body? Unlike what many people think, inflammation isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a natural and essential response from our immune system. When we get injured, cut, or infected, our body triggers an inflammatory response to protect the affected area. For example, fight off invaders and start the healing process. The more common type of inflammation is called acute inflammation. This is the kind most people are familiar with. It's more focused inflammation lasting a relatively short time, and it's usually beneficial treating a specific problem. This type of inflammation might show up as redness, swelling, heat, or local pain in our body. So if inflammation can be a good thing, when does it become problematic? The problem begins when that normal inflammation, the one we just talked about, continues and doesn't stop or calm down. When our body stays in a state of inflammation over time, even without a clear reason, that's defined as chronic inflammation. This type of inflammation doesn't always feel as dramatic as acute inflammation, but it does operate in the background. It's like a small fire, if you will, that keeps burning quietly and causing ongoing damage to cells and tissues in our body. Okay, so maybe that doesn't sound too terrible yet, right? So what's the real problem? What's so dangerous about chronic inflammation? Well, the thing is, chronic inflammation is linked to the development of many common and serious diseases. For example, studies have found a direct connection between chronic inflammation and risk of cardiovascular diseases, for example, type 2 diabetes, certain types of cancer, arthritis, and even degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. So how do we know if we suffer from chronic inflammation? Despite the serious picture I just painted, it's not always easy to identify chronic inflammation because the signs can be vague and subtle. But here are some things that might appear over time that are worth paying attention to. For example, joint or muscle pain for no apparent reason, persistent unexplained fatigue that also seem to come out of nowhere, recurring digestive problems like bloating, gas, or discomfort, skin issues such as acne, eczema, or rashes, difficulty losing weight despite your best effort. It can also affect our brain, causing brain fog or difficulty concentrating. It's important to emphasize that these signs can be due to many other reasons, so you shouldn't panic if you experience one of them. But if symptoms do persist and your gut feelings tell you something isn't right, it's worth considering the possibility of chronic inflammation and getting checked by your doctor. So what we can do? The good news is that we have a very powerful tool to help fight chronic inflammation, and that tool is our diet. What we eat or what we don't eat, which is just as important, can dramatically affect inflammation levels in our body. Just as some foods promote inflammation, we will talk about it in a moment, there are foods and eating patterns that can significantly reduce it. For example, fatty fish rich in omega-3s such as salmon and sardines. These contain omega-3 fatty acids known for their anti-inflammatory effects. If you don't eat fish, you don't like fish, there are also plant sources like ground flax seeds, chia seeds, and walnuts that are also rich in omega-3s. Colorful fruits and vegetables, for example, berries like blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, leafy greens such as spinach, kale, and chard, broccoli, peppers, tomatoes, they are all contain powerful antioxidants like polyphenols and vitamins that neutralize free radicals and reduce inflammation. The bottom line is the more color on your plate, the better. The next is healthy plants. Fats, olive oil, avocado, nuts, and almonds contain monosaturated fats and antioxidants that support heart health and help reduce inflammation. Many spices contain high concentration of anti-inflammatory compounds like the famous turmeric, especially its active ingredient curcumin. Also ginger, cinnamon, garlic, rosemary, and oregano are also known for their benefits. You can incorporate them in your cooking. You don't need special supplements, just use the spices themselves. And as I mentioned, what we choose not to eat matters too. It's also important to reduce consumption of food known to promote inflammation. This includes added sugar and sugary drink, refined carbohydrates, trans fat, heavily processed food, and excessive amount of red and processed meat. Now, in my humble opinion, I don't think we need to avoid this thing completely or to be extreme. Very few people can stick to a strict diet of only quinoa and wheatgrass, right? But it's important that most of our diet is based on these healthier principles. And if you really need that teaspoon of sugar in the morning with your coffee, I don't see that as a problem. But the issue begins on larger quantities that consume regularly. It's also important to note that while nutrition is a central and powerful tool against chronic inflammation, it's not the only factor. For example, mental stress can also have a significant impact on our bodies. Getting good sleep and regular exercise are also crucial pieces of this puzzle and affect inflammation levels. So in conclusion, chronic inflammation is a silent but potentially dangerous condition linked to many diseases. The great news is that there is something we can do about it. A healthy diet based on whole natural foods, rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and healthy fats can be a very effective way to fight inflammation. Thank you for watching.